来的下午的座谈会，我们就交给林从一主任。那我们现在就把时间交给老师。
那个与会的那个老师好，以及我们与会的来宾，真是非常抱歉，那个因为赶场好，那个没有来得及，没有掌控好时间，再这边跟大家致一下歉。如果10年前或是去年好，说今年会发生什么样的事情，我们大概很多人都不会相信好。可是事情发生了，有些事情呢，虽然很罕见，但是它如此的发生，譬如说油价变成负油价，负值这件事情，我们大概会吓了一大跳。可是了解它，也只不过是市场的一个很自然的逻辑或经济现象，也不是那么压抑。可是有些事情呢，它真的是不仅罕见，那我们怎么样面对它、评价它？是需要讨论的。我们不是很深刻的了解它背后的原因。举例来说，我们今天的主题防疫跟民主的关系。有一个基本的架构是，人类为了安全，它事实上是愿意让渡一些平常我们不会让渡的权利，给政府的。那这种让渡呢，通常是短期解决危机的。可是如果疫情不断的来，或者是它来一次维持得很久，这种权利的让渡会不会变成一个常态？应不应该变成一个常态？那我们应该怎么样看待它？一直是我们需要认真的去讨论的一件事情。今天我们非常高兴，我们在这个场次呢，有5位专家先帮我们做一个引言。那个至于说要讲一下规则每位那个老师呢，先引言15分钟。那我们那个再进行那个现场的讨论。是不是这样子？那个是这样子嘛？好，那我们第一位呢，语坛人是 Alain Brossat， 还是 Brossat？ 是那个我们那个他已经出版了那个一本那个我们中文的著作妇科危险哲学家。那我们是不是就请那个我不晓得念的对不对？那个 Brossat 那个来帮我们引言，谢谢。
Everybody, well, I will repeat briefly what I said this morning in my pidgin English. So my paper is called The World in the Aftermath of the COVID-19 Epidemic. One of the worrying questions the present epidemic asks us is, I think, this: in what regard or to what extent have we learned anything from this experience, that is, from this common ordeal we went through all together? When I say we, maybe that's not the right way of putting things, because I should maybe first make a difference between the people in charge, the ruling elites, and the others, that is the ordinary people, the population in various countries all around the planet. There is no doubt for me that ordinary people have learned a lot on this sinister occasion about their vulnerability. This in particular in the countries that have been severely hit by COVID-19. That is where the epidemic has taken a heavy toll of human life. People have learned a lot about their collective fragility in the face of major risks, health issues, and others. They have learned almost everywhere, and I must say that in this regard, Taiwan is some sort of an exception. They have learned that the authority, the allegedly legitimate and competent ruling elites in their respective countries happened not to be equal to the situation when they have to tackle an imminent and massive threat of that kind. This year's epidemic, or in another context, the nuclear accident in Fukushima. This is what I have in sight here. Ordinary people have witnessed how in these situations where a vital threat is at issue, the ghost of some sort of, let's say, rampant negative eugenics, such a ghost is resurfacing. I mean by that things like wartime operations and tactics, which consist in considering that in a situation where things have run out of control, some lives should be saved rather than others, for the scarcity of, let's say, everything in a country like France, of doctors, nurses, beds, tests, respirators, masks, This penury and the disorganization make that it would be vain to try to treat all the infected patients. So, in that case, let's, if things are, if it looks that way, let's try to make live. Does it work? Okay. Let's try to make live some of the people, some of the patients, and let the other die. In most of countries where the epidemic has been severe and has run out of control, ordinary people have learned that the weakest, those who are supposed to be useless or less useful in the eyes of the cynical elites in charge, should be considered as expendable in the context of the epidemic. Expendable means here human material. The state is supposed to be in a position to do without it. And I mean by that ethnic minorities, elderly people, homeless people, refugees, migrants, etc. I think that this lesson will leave deep traces engraved in the collective memory of ordinary people in countries like mine, France, but many others too. I think that it will feed durably their distrust in the face of the authority, the state, the ruling elites, a feeling that is already deeply rooted in their minds. It will also maybe incline ordinary people to think that in that kind of situation, when society has to face a disaster of that scale, people should not rely first of all on the authority, but on their own capacities in terms of self-organization, protection, solidarity, reliance. And this might be the positive side, the side effect of the general failure of the authority in this context. Concerning now the ruling elites, it is unfortunately very unlikely that this crisis would uncouple them from the usual economic models and metrics of development and growth they compulsively stick to. This in a context where clear-sighted and competent scholars and researchers have stressed that the present health crisis is inseparable from the global stakes related to climate warming and the asphyxia of the planet. All what makes that the present epidemic appears to be the perfect occasion, or should have been the perfect occasion, for rethinking and questioning in the most radical way the relevance of these models, and it would have been the perfect occasion for forking off towards another economy, a complete reshaping of the relationships between the human and its environment. What we see actually is a situation where the crisis is not yet behind us, and initiatives made of massive plans to reboost economy, in particular in the sectors that are the most destructive in terms of environment, like car industry, aeronautics, agro industry, industrial animal farming, etc. This means on short term, as a consequence of all that, the revival of these forms of production, human mobility, consumption, waste of energy, that lead to the asphyxia of megalopolis, with as well all the plagues and scourges whose intensity had rapidly diminished at the time of the epidemic. But before all, and this is the main reason for being very pessimistic about the near future, what makes me think that nothing positive will result from this experience, almost all the people around the planet have shared, it is this. This challenge, this ordeal could have given us a chance, or before all given the people in charge, and the powerful, let's say, transnational economic apparatuses, a chance to, let's say, appease or allay the tensions that have appeared and grown in the realm of international relations, in economic competition, you know, that sort of rampant new Cold War that is fueled, among other things, by the rise of Chinese power and the decline of the American empire. The sudden appearance of the global, massive and vital threat we had to face with the pandemic could, or rather should, have been the opportunity to declare a truce, a ceasefire in this latent war, to implement new solidarities and cooperation intended for doing as much, let's say, damage limitation as possible, as long as the epidemic would rage worldwide. But it went exactly the other direction. The epidemic has been taken hostage of new Cold War rhetorics. National selfishness has become the rule. The vaccine against COVID-19, should it be available some of these days or in the coming month or years, it already appears to be, before all, a market issue at a stake in terms of competition between states, blocks of power. all you want but a common good. The politicization of the health and medical stakes of the pandemic have become more and more insistent as it spread worldwide. And this politicization took the most disastrous forms. Perfidious accusation and insinuations with a strong smell of racism, Chinese virus, Wuhan virus. This in a context where health and medical stakes are distinctly hijacked for political monkey business. The more blatant the Trump administration's failure has become in the face of the epidemic in the US, the more aggressive the campaign against China as a scapegoat, China as the matrix of the epidemic. All this in the hope to provide the best chances for Trump's re-election next November. This cynical instrumentalization of the epidemic is not only morally degrading, it is pure political nihilism. It is a new stage on the way to major confrontations. Basically, it leads to war, not cold, but warm, hot, torrid war. Those who think that they made on this occasion a smart calculation as they tailed relentlessly after Trump's agitation, these people will have been ill-advised and they will become aware of it someday, but too late, most probably. The way so many of our politicians, I mean here in East Asia, but also in Europe or in the US, so in the epidemic an opportunity for pushing their pawns on the chessboard of the new Cold War. These people show how immature, irresponsible, and as a consequence, dangerous they are. All the peoples, without any exception, though of course to varying degrees, have suffered from this ordeal. All of Europeans have lost acquaintances, friends, relatives. The ordinary people's lives have been durably disrupted. Many poor people have tipped into misery. The psychic after effects of the pandemic are more than significant. For all these reasons, in the West, the least we could have expected from our leaders and rulers would have been that after having completely failed in containing the pandemic, they would not cast fuel on the new Cold Wars by giving free rein in the rhetorics of, innuendo, like the Chinese hide a lot of things from us, etc., etc. And this, of course, they did in order to avert the public's attention from their incompetence. And all this, of course, at the very moment they begged the Chinese government to send them masks and test kits and breathing devices, and all this, of course, in emergency. So this is a very, very slippery slope where politics is on today, going downhill in the most hazardous way. We don't know yet exactly how it will look like in the next future, but to be sure, we are headed for disaster. Thank you.
Thank you. 我们那个5位的那个与谈人讲完之后，我们再开放讨论。好，那刚才 Brossat 主要是在谈说全世界，无论是欧洲、亚洲或包括美国，好，那就是利用疫情呢，好，来以保护公众安全、公共卫生、国家安全的理由，来侵犯人权、侵犯民主，好，以及呢，由于疫情的关系，使得国家跟国家之间的孤立、互相孤立、敌对的倾向，好，这2种在过去是慢慢的发生，可是疫情使它急速的发生，然后提醒我们要注意这件事情。